Not have any updates on Mate. We are waiting. I do know that the NCAA has rendered a number of decisions here in the past 48 hours, and we're somewhere on the docket. We'll figure out when. I do think they'll make a decision prior to Monday's game. It could be on Monday, but don't have anything as of yet. I don't know that there's any other news I could give you. Nothing new with TJ, nothing new with Zane. And it is a little different. Woke up pretty excited this morning. I actually really enjoy game prep and kind of spending the whole day just jumping in on a specific team. So, Western Kentucky being that team for us on Monday, and we'll be excited and prepared to go. I will take the extra hour of sleep, so it'll be good, and I think we'll be prepared.
With the game against Western Kentucky being on national TV on CBS Sports Network, how big of a deal is that for you guys in terms of wanting to get the brand and stuff out there for people to watch and not have to pay a subscription like for ESPN Plus or anything?
Yeah, I didn't know that. So I'm glad it's televised, and I'm glad that people will be able to see it. But this will be two very veteran-oriented teams, and I was visiting with Coach Drew, who's the head coach at Baylor last night, and he was just talking about how terrified he is for first road games. And I think they play at Gonzaga, and we're talking about playing at Western Kentucky, and just those first road games are sometimes educational, especially when you have young guys. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of young guys, so I think our guys understand what it is to go into this basketball game. But um, I'm glad it's televised, but I didn't know that.
I've heard you say it before, but how did last season's non-conference inform the decision to make this the first game of this season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're thinking about putting a schedule together and when to play games, these are mutual decisions based on the opposition and us. We could have waited probably until December in order to play this game, but I didn't want to wait until after a few games at home, maybe after the tournament in Orlando to see if we were capable and good enough to be on the road. So I really wanted to get this test early. I wanted to get questions answered early, knowing that we have a number of returners. So I wasn't going to wait till December the 10th. To figure out if we can handle challenges on the road. So to kick the season off this way is kind of a belief in your players, their own ability.
Having played Western Kentucky early in the year last year, do you consider this game like a measuring stick at all for you guys?
No, simply because I don't know where we're at right now. We need to play some games in order to get an idea about where we're at. We need to kind of see going on the roads a little different than playing at home, and being able to handle adversity and hostile crowds. All of that thing plays a part in kind of the internal makeup. So it's not really a measuring stick for, hey, let's see where we were a year ago, simply because they're two different teams. It is a measuring stick for who we are internally, and how much growth needs to occur when we return. I mean, growth is going to happen no matter what, but it's going to give us a pretty good idea about where we're at.
What are the main differences that you've noticed so far between this Western Kentucky team that you put last year?
Well, they returned 12 players from an NCAA tournament team last year. They won the conference championship. They had multiple all league players. Don McHenry was player of the conference, player of the year for their conference in the conference tournament MVP. So they have a good team. So you have a team that was up on Marquette at the half, and they returned 11 rotation players, in addition to adding pieces that they're pretty confident about. So I'm aware of their games versus Mississippi State and UAB, know how competitive they were in those two games. But this is a veteran-oriented team. I thought we were veteran-oriented. They may be more so than us.
How do you scout a team that's had a a coaching change, but keep so much of the core? Do you watch last year's team, or do you watch Hank's film at JUCO? Like, what do you do? Scouting
Both.
this team?
Yeah, you get an idea about how they played previously, and then you also get an idea about what's going to be the carryover. My guess is they're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They did pretty well a year ago, so they'll primarily be focused. I think he'll continue to play fast. I know that they were number one in the country last year in tempo. They threw it into the post. I looked last year, 57% of our shots, or I'm sorry, 50% of their shots were at the rim. So my guess is they're going to keep putting that level of pressure on the rim, and they'll continue to throw it inside. Don't know enough about their pieces yet. I mean, we will by Saturday, but don't know enough about their pieces yet. But I think they'll play fast, and I think they'll play it, throw it in the post.
Can you tap into the league resources? You give Coach Kennedy a call to see his thoughts. Is there any kind of
Well,
interleague hope
yeah,
there?
we've talked to UAB and to Mississippi State. So, and again, we scrimmaged Oklahoma State. So, Hank being an assistant with Steve, they've got info, and then you can just the UAB box scores available. Our Emporia State box scores available. So,
What would you like from Zion in the exhibition against Victoria? Would you like about him, his play?
yeah, the one thing about Zion is he takes a little bit to get adjusted, but you can kind of see when he gets in a groove. I thought he got in a groove pretty early, like he felt comfortable pretty early. But I just caution people about putting too many expectations on a freshman, especially when you have a veteran group. There's just very few freshmen in the country who can actually impact winning. They can help you play, but there's just very few of them who impact winning. I know everybody goes back to the number one team in the country, or number one recruiting class in the country, when Kentucky during 2021, and believe they won 5 games the entire year. And they predominantly played high heralded freshmen. And it's hard with freshmen. I think Duke that particular year was they won 13 games or 16 games, and it's just hard when you have a number of rookies and you're relying on them. We're not relying on Zion. Zion can be a piece, but it's hard for freshmen to really impact winning.
I think they're having their championship ceremony before this game to celebrate last year's conference championship, and it's already going to be a tough test, going on the road. But when they're having a celebration like that, what do you tell your guys about try to prepare them for what environment they're getting into?
Yeah, I mean, we'll play crowd noise throughout practices this week so that they have an idea about how to navigate through the noise. Communications becomes pretty important, not just verbally, but visually. As I tell our players, I don't care if the other team knows our calls. I care about our team knowing our calls. If the other team knows their plays and our plays too, kudos to them. But we need to make sure we're communicating, not just verbally, but visually. And it's on players to make sure the pace, like you can't start things too early. If you start it too early, things get out of kink. That's all well and good inside a quiet arena or in your home environment. To be able to handle that on the road will be pretty significant.
Do you feel like you saw the changes you wanted since last week's exhibition to now?
No, because there's a lot that needs to get done in the timing. Going back and watching the film, I thought actually the spacing was better than what I anticipated. I thought the spacing was pretty good. I thought the cutting was average, but I did think we did a good job spacing wise. What we call EPAs, I thought we did a number of those are early pitch aheads. I thought the EPAs, in essence, as I tell our team, they're basically cheat codes. And I thought we did a good job there on the EPAs, but I will tell you that we've got a long way to go execution-wise. That was pretty botched.
And like the biggest challenge of that you talked about before, just the defenses are ahead of the offenses at this point, and you add in like the road test. you know, what's it going to take to win a game like this? I mean, is this, you anticipate this kind of being like, you got to grind it out, it might be a little ugly?
Yeah, I don't. It's not going to be pretty basketball. It'll be competitive basketball, but I don't know that it'll be pretty basketball. I think one, you have to love it. Like you really have to enjoy these type of atmospheres. You have to enjoy this type of adversity. You have to understand that teams are going to go on runs, and you're going to go on one too, and you just can't get too up or down based on however the game is playing out. As I encourage our guys, we're not here to play the scoreboard. You know, whether we're up 30 or down 30, we're here to play the game. And we need to dominate whatever possession, whatever matchup that we have, and we need to be locked in on the game. The most important thing for us in those kind of situations is poise is really going to play a part. That happens with older guys, and can we just embrace it? You know, like you have to embrace things that don't go your way, and then you got to clean them up. I think this is not a team that's going to get rattled. I feel that way, and that's why I'm anxious to play this game.
And then if Monte, if you guys don't hear word before that game, obviously the front court depth, you know, without Zane, it gets a little dicey behind, you know, Quincy, and even at the 4, you know, it's not like you guys have a ton of depth. So like, are you guys planning, you know, maybe get a little creative, play 4-guard lineups more? Like, is that something you guys are exploring, or are you pretty confident that Monte?
No, I mean you're not counting on that. I mean, I think you'd be an idiot to depend on the NCAA to come through in a timely manner that you want them to come through. They go at their own pace. So I've been fortunate just with, you know, my time at Oral Roberts, specifically that 2021 team that went to the Sweet 16. We were 5-out oriented, and kind of have an idea about what that should look like and how to put teams in compromising positions with more of a small ball lineup per se. I think you see that with Boston and just their ability to kind of keep the floor open, and you can kind of extend some defenders and know how to use cuts and angles and gaps in order to do that. But again, I've been fortunate that I've kind of seen that up close, and I think we have some downhill guys. You think about Harlan, you think about Eggs, you think about Justin, and so I think, to be honest with you, we'd be perfectly comfortable in that particular if we had to go that route.
And then just real quick on recruiting, a lot of these guys have played in the NCAA tournament or been on tournament teams at past stops. Was that something that you guys almost targeted? Like, hey, we want guys that know what winning looks like. Was that something is that on purpose, or is that just kind of like a happy coincidence?
Yeah, very, very intentional. I mean, at the end, we believe we're a high major program, so you have to have high major guys. And if you look at our lineups, whether it be multiple guys from the SEC, we have ACC guys, we have Big 12 guys, we have guys who've transferred here, and they understand it, and they've been at those other programs where they've experienced the NCAA tournament. And, you know, whether you're talking about Harlan at an ACC program that went to a Final Four, or you talk about Corey and Xavier Bell, who St. Peter's and Drexel led them respectively to NCAA tournaments. You have to know what winning looks like. You have to understand what a game for March looks like. So I think all of that is very intentional about putting the right people here. You know, even going back to Quincy Ballard, he played in a Sweet 16 or was a part of a team that was a part. So I think if guys experience that, there's kind of a dopamine hit that, you know, every March you want to experience. So it's intentionally to get those kind of guys in these seats here. Thank you, guys.